Makes me wonder too, why do people like trash like us?
Everyone likes to make fun of people. Like, we're all shitty people. Hello, fellow trash pickers. Our channel here is about reviewing trashy media. Specifically, right now, we've been focusing on Christmas movies because that's just something we've loved for a long time. As we've been reviewing movies this whole past month, this question of what is trash has come up over and over and over again. Every time we go to pick our next movie or our next show, we always have to make sure it fits into the specific criteria of what we consider trash to be. My sister and I actually had a conversation about how we classify things as trash. We ended up recording it, and then in the end, we actually thought it was kind of interesting, so we thought we'd share it because we thought maybe you guys would find that interesting as well and maybe weigh in on the conversation. And the question being, what makes something trashy media? That's a phrase actually that's thrown around quite a bit these days. Movies being so bad it's good is kind of commonplace. If you have a specific criteria of what you think makes a piece of media trashy, let us know. I think it's kind of an ever-changing definition, so maybe over time we'll be able to refine it more as we keep doing these media critiques.
All right, so what is trash and why do we love to watch it?
Yeah, I'm taking a second just to collect my thoughts on it.
I think for me, when I think of like trash, and whether it's reality trash, holiday movie trash, trashy magazines, trashy romance novels, these things that are just so like predictable with writing that is so formulaic that it is so easy to just repeat. And so there's no innovation, there's nothing unique. There's this other background element of this trash, particularly with the holiday movie trash, that has certain value systems imbued into it that are highly problematic.
I guess like the best way, I'm trying to say how to verbalize it, would be problematic values of pop culture skinned with commercialism. They don't always have to be big budget, but you know, it's like networks will put all of their money into creating these really trashy reality TV shows, and they get all these resources and all this marketing and all this whatever, and then in the case of Hollywood, they will get the best cameras, they will get the best actors, you know, there's all of this energy, not always money, energy put into creating these messages over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the messages, in my mind, have to actually be harmful, but they don't appear outwardly harmful because they've been skinned with soft pop culture imagery.
Yeah, no, that's good. That makes me think too, another layer of trash is that it actually functions as a mirror to shifting cultural values. And so if you were to say, well, what are the films that have come out in 2020 versus 2015 versus 2024, you can start to chart what's socially acceptable. Now, it may be a little bit ahead of the curve if it's trying to be a little progressive, or might be sort of lagging, but ultimately it gives you a sense of how our sort of shared base level acceptability of people's roles, what relationships should be, how people should be functioning in society, all of that is like baked into these, specifically the holiday movies, because they reflect like a core sense of home and roots, and it sort of makes us have to accept these things at a deep level. Anyway, I think that that's another way to think about trash, is that it's this interesting reflection of like a changing social level of acceptability with these things.
I think the values that are always pushed in these pieces of media too, I think are always shallow, always. Whether, like you're saying, it's changing over time, I don't think there'll ever be any depth or deep consideration or nuance at all. They have to be super shallow about love, connection. Like, it doesn't matter. It could be any subject matter. It's just going to be really shallow and socially accepted.
It's really interesting to think about this as comfort food, because a lot of times at the end of the year, people are exhausted. They want to lay on the couch, eat some holiday treats, and watch this stuff. You know, people do that with other types of trash media as well. And there's an element of like a dopamine hit, right? And I would wonder, like, well, what is it that is like payoff, like you're saying, you know, Sarah? Is it like because you know there's this formulaic romance in every one of these types of holiday trashy movies, it's going to make you feel a certain way? Is it just sort of the plot pieces, or is it these elements of like being aware and critiquing, like you're saying? So I just wonder where that comfort comes in as well.
I wonder how much that is true anymore. I'd be curious to know how many people watch this type of media to make fun of it, to hate watch it. I think people who hate watch it will accidentally get sucked sucked into the drama or whatever. It happens, probably happens to me too. But I think it would be really interesting to know how many people watch it because they truly align themselves with what these movies stand for and what they're saying versus people who like to laugh at them or roll their eyes at them or cringe at them. I don't know. My guess is that it is changing over time. It'd be interesting to see what it is.
So you had made a good comment previously about it being safe or not triggering. I thought maybe that would be useful to say in the context of this too.
Yeah, what did I say? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was saying that there's kind of an interesting balance here because this type of media does make me very angry because a lot of the values, the agendas that they're pushing, so to speak, are actually really harmful a lot of the times. The ideas of love, gender, even religion, even though I do think there actually is a lot of harm done by perpetuating these messages over and over and over again, the movies don't actually include outwardly violent, aggressive, divisive things. There's not going to be a jump scare. There's not going to be like super divisive language or very, very obviously bad things. It's not going to be obvious. It's going to be subtle in the plot. And because of that, they're not always triggering in those ways. So I don't really know how to say it. They're bad, but they're also safe. I don't know.
They're problematic, but they're oddly comforting because they reflect the status quo. I know.
Well, I don't think it's comforting because it reflects the status quo. I think it's comforting because I know what's going to be in the movie. I know that there's not going to be imagery that would be triggering to me. I know there's not going to be violence, even though there might be subtle racism and sexism in the undertones of like the way the characters are dressed or the plots or whatever, which is its own form of violence, I guess, but it's different. It triggers in a different way. Like it feels safe because I know what's going to happen, even though I hate what's happening.
Fair. Well, it makes me wonder too if why do people like trash like us? And I have to say, at some level, maybe I enjoy pointing out these problematic aspects of our culture and sort of pointing it out and wanting to sort of drum up awareness and be like, no, we can't accept this. And maybe that's just a part of my nature, whether it's pointing out a bad commercial or a reality TV. And it's the same thing of it's being presented as normal, but it shouldn't be. And it's a great way to sort of become more aware and distance yourself from it at the same time, have that critical lens.
Yeah, I think coming at it from a psychological perspective, even though we're talking about these things and viewing them in a very humorous way, I assume deep down, when I'm trying to be honest, this probably comes from a place of pain in us. Specifically, the Christmas movies are always, most of them are women who have to give up ambitions and go back to the family. And at least for us, Lisa, that's the exact opposite of what we've done. And we are the Antichrist in these movies. So even though I don't watch these movies and actively feel upset, I'm sure these things subconsciously, I resent them. And watching this and laughing at it and pointing out how unrealistic it is for a lot of people and how harmful it can be for people who don't want to follow these paths, it probably is a coping mechanism to an extent. I don't know how actively I'm thinking about it and being angry, but on some level, I'm sure there is a serious part of it.
Yeah. So I guess in short, trash is problematic because it reflects values, and they tend to be values that are harmful to groups. And doing even this kind of simple media critique, it's sort of a way to observe those, become aware of them, highlight them, and to sort of counter them. That said, trash is also wrapped up in the saccharine sweetness of Hollywood and the way that it's all produced with the lights and the actors and all these things and the predictable plot. So that's why we have that love element of being drawn in by the drama, but hate by being kind of repulsed by what they actually stand for. And so it's a very odd push-pull that they represent for us in our psyches.
And then also, it's also not that deep either. It's stupid. It's all just stupid. There is truth to what we're saying, but ultimately it's just garbage, and everyone likes to make fun of people. They're all shitty people.
Yeah.
So that's probably it.
So enjoy that trash. We know we will.